It's Friday, and welcome to Moohead Radio. I'm your host, the Big and Furry Bovine. Joining me in the panel so far is Tony the Calf, headline rock and roll singer Jerry Lee Lewis, dead at 87. Around the world, mothers and daughters are resting comfortably. 13-year-old daughters. So, I know that I'm going to take a lot of shit for this, what I'm going to say today. And I need to do this because I've had a number of things over the course of years that have been said to me. And I think the way this show is divided up is very Brown-centric, always has been. And the fan base is very loud. And, to be very honest with you, with the exception of the LeBron James years and now, there was no reason to talk about the Mike Fratello Cavaliers, and there was no reason really to talk about the Dolan's Indians. It just, but this notion that fans would say to me when I would talk about the other teams, and it's really starting up now louder, is that Cleveland is a Browns town. And I want to disagree. And I'm not going to tell you what you think and what you feel. I'm just going to tell you the cold, hard truth. The implication that Cleveland is a Browns town, the Browns have nothing to do with the city of Cleveland. Let's make this eminently clear. I grew up, before some of you were born, in Northeast Ohio. The city of Cleveland was made by hardworking people and became what it has been as a result of the work and labors of people. To say that the Browns are the cog of Cleveland would be an absolute lie. There are three count them, big league sports franchises in Cleveland. And the one that is probably dissed the most, as far as nobody giving a flying fuck, would be the Indians/Guardians, which the Guardians didn't earn this last year, but the low payroll of the Dolans and all of that becomes a factor. I decided I wanted to talk about the Guardians because I think they're right about everything that's right about sports. The Guardians are about. If they put Francona on a table sitting, and they put a plate in front of him and said to him, okay, you can have anything on the menu under $3. What are you going to end up with? And no complaining, no excuses. Terry Francona continues to helm a team that has had varying degrees of talent over the course of the years. And this past year, with virtually not a prayer of hope, managed to get them into the playoffs and come a whisker away from beating the Yankees. That's the first team. The second team is the Cavaliers, and you watch 1.1 million people show up downtown after the Cavaliers won the NBA title, something that the Browns can't say they've done in a Super Bowl, and something that the Indians couldn't say that they, even though they had the Game 7 opportunities, couldn't say that they claimed the trophy. 1.1 million. We're Browns town. Meanwhile, what have the Browns done? And I don't mean what have you done for me lately. What have you done, period? I'm older than you, so I remember the last teams that were actually credible. But they've done nothing. Not even, say, a Super Bowl. This fan base is like, oh, we want a playoff game against the Steelers. You bunch of fucking Generation Z twits. Don't tell me what Cleveland is. You don't know. A bunch of you jumped ship because you wanted to keep Baker Mayfield. And you know something? Well, if the Browns had done the right thing, what? The moral equivalent of right? No, held on to Baker Mayfield. He'd have sucked as bad as he sucked with the goddamn Panthers. These are facts. The Browns are an underperforming organization, and the thing that bothers me the most, Cleveland is a Browns town. You think that people would be smart enough to realize they don't give a fuck about you. And a lot of these dummies, and I'll call you dummies openly, you know nothing about the history of the franchise. Maybe you heard Gramps saying that, oh, you know something? Cleveland is a Browns town. And if we're talking about Jim Brown and we're talking about Frank Ryan, we're talking about Paul Warfield, if we're talking about those Browns before there was a Super Bowl, yeah, there was some real excitement. They were a really good organization. They were well run. And then all of a sudden, idiot advertising advocate Art Modell buys the team and fires Paul Brown, and with it flushes the entire organization down the toilet. And he did. And if you're such a fan that you believe it's a Browns town, he went one further. He sold the team out from under you, you stupid fucks. Yeah. They weren't not a Cleveland team. They became the Ravens. And you act as if, we're a Browns town. No, you're not. You went without football for years, and what they gave you back was a piece of shit. That's what they gave you back. Yeah. And there's no excitement. There's no buzz. There's no nothing except the negativity surrounding this team and how they perpetually make bad draft choices, how they perpetually underperform, how they constantly change quarterbacks, how they constantly change coaches, concepts, defensive fronts, 3-4, 4-3. Then let's bring in one of the radical guys who, we're going to put in, two linebackers, and so it's going to be a 6-5. You name it. We've seen it in Cleveland, and it has one thing in common. It doesn't work.
We're going to play Jarrell Peppers 30 yards down the field.
I'm trying it all. Nothing. And so the fan base is split, and you buy a quarterback, but obviously the quarterback that you buy does not meet with the standard of these highbrow Cleveland Browns fans, if you can believe that. The battery throwers, the water bottle throwers, the cursing, overflowing urinal people, all of that. The drunkenness, the disorderliness, and then the eventual gentrification of the sterile First Energy Stadium, which was Cleveland Browns Stadium. Got a bunch of people in there like, well, Buffy, here we are. How much did this cost us anyway? The fans aren't even smart enough to know. They do nothing for you, and they're not doing anything but charging the city of Cleveland rent money. That's all they do. New stadium, you got to pay for it. You're living in Northeast Ohio, your sales taxes are going up. Their luxury taxes are going up. You're going to pay for it. You're idiots. If you do I have to explain to you the Tooth Fairy and Santa Claus? They're not real. Do I have to explain to you that the Cleveland Browns don't give a flying fuck about you? The owner before this one didn't even want to live in America, for Christ's sake. And the guy before that was a minority owner who didn't know what in the hell he was doing and died before he had a chance to figure it out. Give me a break. And the guy who's in there now, he'd sell your mama down the river. Don't tell me this is a Browns town. Not when 1.1 million people witnessed a Cleveland team actually win a title. You know, people bitch about LeBron James? People in Cleveland. Those same idiots. The only championship since 1964, before the Super Bowl, the city of Cleveland have seen. Last World Series was 1954. Yeah. You people don't know fuck. The fact of the matter is, what the fan base should gravitate toward is what's doing well. I mean, I look at the Cavaliers and I say, you know, it's tough. It's tough when you see how much money the Golden State Warriors are spending.
Jesus Christ, $500 million.
I mean, you know, there can't be a good result from that number. Nothing. I mean, they would have to win, and every season ticket holder would have to get a blowjob to completion.
And that's $500 million without Draymond Green.
Yeah, I mean,
one of their key cogs isn't even signed.
Yeah, I mean, it's gotten out of control, and there's only so, you know. So when the Cavaliers had their moment, they won a championship, and they did it with veteran players. When it came to drafting players, you know, we hit on a few, and a team that's doing everything right now. And some of these people come into this chat room and say, why are you wasting your time talking about them? Because they're doing things right. Now, for how long these players will listen to JB Bickerstaff and will keep small heads, I don't know, because with that big money floating around in the NBA, you know, eventually their contracts we'll see whether they, you know, whether they do stay or whether they go, whether they sign a hometown deal like Jose Ramirez did, or whether they just go to the highest bidder. But if you're looking at Darius Garland and Donovan Mitchell, and you're looking at Evan Mobley and Jared Allen, that four,
yep,
I'd be the first to tell you we need a three. But doesn't always. Eventually, you got to put some things together. And this guy here, D, you American flag wearer, you. How dare you purport that Cleveland is not a Browns town? Listen to this guy. Listen to this guy. The only team anyone gives a flying fuck about. That's your weakness. That has nothing to do with what the teams are doing.
I mean, I don't know.
Because
Rocket Mortgage or Quicken Loans or whatever the hell the name of the arena is.
Speak up. You're drifting.
I don't know. Rocket Mortgage or Quicken Loans or whatever the hell Gund.
Yeah.
What the name it is. They've been sold out every game. I don't know what, you know, people seem to give a fuck about the Cavs.
You know, and this is the world in which we live in. And I'm going to bring in another person, Double P, in here. Hey, Double P, how are you, buddy?
Doing good. A lot to talk about.
I want to respond to this clown. A Cavs championship means nothing compared to a Browns Super Bowl, except that it actually happened. You dummy.
I think if we're speaking hypotheticals, if the Browns were to ever win one.
Yeah, well, wave a flag somewhere else.
The odds are slim, but I mean, yeah, the city would.
I mean, how long you have to wait, for goodness sakes. You know, I'm just talking about the teams that are doing it right. Yeah. The Cavaliers are building this team the right way, and the coach is doing what he's supposed to do to get them to play selflessly and not hog the ball. Meanwhile, D, draped in his American flag, he is sitting there watching the most selfish team in the NFL with a bunch of dummies as coaches, head coaches, assistant coaches, front office people, and ownership doing everything the wrong way. And if you didn't read, your team D, Mike Prefer, said, you know, that call against us on the field goal, it was the right call. He goes, the refs got it right. Because he threw one of the players under the bus. He didn't have to say a motherfucking thing. Jordan Elliott got thrown under the bus. And Mike Prefer should be thrown under the bus for good because he's been lousy under his watch, his aegis, AEGISD, for the Trump-altered mind. He's been wrong from the get-go. We haven't had a successful combination of punting, field goal kicking, or returning in his entire time here. He has a lousy scheme. He has no thought process. And if you really want to know why people belittle the city of Cleveland, it's because of dumb fans who continue to cling to this stupid belief that the team gives a shit about them and that they have a reason to cheer them on when the team does nothing but disappoint time and time and time again. You know, guys like you, they look at women who have been roughed up and beaten and they say, well, why would they go back to a relationship like that? And I'm just looking at them like this saying, well, then what's your story, clown? It's just ridiculous. I know fans want the team, well, some of the fans want the team to do well, but the bottom line is whenever they want something from the city, they threaten to move their stadiums. In the case of the Browns, they actually did. They moved to another city. If you think that there is one shred of appreciation going to be shown to you for being a fanboy of this organization, guess again. Me, I am only in it to watch the performance of good, well-trained, well-coached athletes. And if I can't see that, it was doomed before Haslam. I mean, goodness, that's like blaming one dictator. It's like saying, well, no, it wasn't Stalin, it was Lenin. Come on. It's been bad since 1999. It's been bad. And it's no closer to being good. We mortgaged $230 million on a quarterback and it didn't get him a wide receiver.
Yeah.
I mean, what do you want me to say?
They thought Amari Cooper was going to be the only guy they needed.
And I'll tell you one thing, he would be fabulous if there was somebody else lined up on the other side of him.
Yeah. Look at all the top teams in the league. And, you know, fucking Allen has Diggs and Gabe Allen. And, you know, he's got receivers. And, you know, Cousins has Jefferson, Thielen. I mean, Anthony Schwartz and fucking Rajai Bell or whatever the fuck is it? No, that's the basketball player. Sorry.
Anthony Bell. No, he's a defensive player. You know,
Right.
Honestly, David Bell's the wide receiver. But, you know, and again, you find whatever deficiencies there are, my friend. You know, the problem is, the issue is, everything that we've brought in since 1999 has been an issue and been a problem. All right. So the fact of the matter is you earn your stripes. And the way that I look at things is when a team is doing the right things. And I understand the Guardians can't spend the money that the Yankees are spending. But remember, the Mets paid out $240 million and didn't even make the fucking playoffs. So, I mean, there is such a thing as gross negligence for all organizations. And the fact that the Yankees could barely get by the Guardians and then proceed to throw their arms up in the air and quit and take their big bags of money home with them against the Astros. New York is, they're Yankees, Yankees town. Well, first of all, why wouldn't they be? The Mets have lost since Tom Seaver was there. Why? Why wouldn't they be? Yankees town. But look what they're doing. They're spending all kinds of money. They would rather have the stars on the field with the big names and then at the end of the year wonder what in the fuck went wrong. It's like the Lakers. It's the Clippers and Lakers, but Los Angeles will always be a Lakers town. And it's like, well, then fine. You explain that to Jeannie Buss and to the whole group over there.
Right.
Well, Russell Westbrook's going to come off the bench. I don't care if he's subterranean and comes through a manhole. Jesus Christ. What it should be is, as a resident of a city, you're paying taxes, and businesses that are poorly run should not be considered as anything more than just a shake your head. And it's like, until you get your fucking act together, Cleveland Browns, I'm lukewarm. And I was as big a fan as any. But they could be gone in a heartbeat. If that's what Haslam had to do, he would do it, and you know it. And then you'd be left with no football, and then you'd have no team at all. And then you know what you do? Put a gun to your head and you blow your brains out because you got no life. Jesus Christ, get it together. Goodness gracious. With that all said, does anybody really give a shit about Monday Night Football? I'm not doing a halftime and post-game show. I'm not, because I'm not staying up that late. I'm just going to just sit there and watch us get bombarded by, him wiggling his fingers and Burrow doing his little stogie smoking gestures or whatever the fuck he does.
The only thing I want to see is how bad, because Jamar Chase is out 4 to 6 weeks.
Yeah.
I want to see how they make T. Higgins and who in the hell is the other guy?
We can't cover T. Higgins.
Tyler Boyd. I want to see how they make them look like the reincarnation.
Well, they will, because they do everybody else.
Shit,
And we have no Ward, no Greedy.
Myles Garrett's supposedly not practicing.
Yeah, and do you want to know the funny part of it? I was just reading an article, and Newsom. He's pissed off that Jamar Chase isn't playing because Jamar Chase didn't call him an elite cornerback last year.
Oh, I remember that in the offseason.
Yeah, Newsom. Yeah, yep. Jamar Chase is just supposed to play through a fucking torn.
What kind of self-immersion is this? You know something? Somebody ought to tell Newsom that he shares a name with a great football player, but it's not him or related to him. For goodness sakes. Or as Ironside would say,
For God's sakes, Mark.
For God's sakes, Mark. Yeah, exactly. I mean, why would you be dwelling on that? Basically, what you're telling the Bengals is, I was so psyched up to play him. Well, you better be psyched up to play, Boyd and the whole bunch they put out there. T. Higgins is a good second receiver. But in the end, who cares?
Yeah.
It's funny, and I'll sit here and I'll tell you the same thing today that I told you before that pissed people off. Lamar Jackson's overrated. Overrated. Do you realize Tom Brady could be a kid trick-or-treating with a Tom Brady mask on because the guy who's out there on the field ain't
Just
Tom
distracted.
Brady anymore.
Yeah, he was distracted.
Yeah, just not the same guy.
No.
It's
But you're saying about Lamar, you see them passing all throughout the first half, and they only scored 3 points. But what got them back into the game was the run game in the second half with Gus Edwards.
And that's because, the Buccaneers just couldn't get it together. They had opportunities and they let them go by the wayside. But if you forced him to throw and he has enough of a hip injury that he's not nearly as mobile, he's running around like a trapped rat back there. Honest to God, he was Justin Fielding. He was.
Yeah.
He was just running around. They catch him anyway. You go, where can I hide? Where can I hide? I don't want to get hurt now. This is my big contract year. Overrated player. Overrated. And you know something? This is coming from a Browns person who just looks at it and says, and they're winning.
Yeah.
And the Browns can't, the Browns say, this is the best stretch of games that Jacoby Brissett has really had and was better than what we expected him to be. Fans.
And just to end on the Buccaneers, I mean, if they do want to replace our minority defensive coordinator, we can just take the one from the Buccaneers and Todd Bowles, because I think he might lose his job.
But obviously, Prefer is just going to keep shooting his mouth off and throwing his players under the bus. He doesn't have to worry about anything. I don't know why, but these guys just, they come to the podium after the games, they shrug their shoulders, you got to do better, and they keep their jobs. And the fans seem perfectly fine with it. We're Browns fans, and Cleveland's a Browns town. Got that right.
Yeah.
Losers. If you're cheering for this, you'll cheer for anything. I'm just telling you the truth. You don't believe me. You don't want to believe me. You're going to say, when the day comes, I'll be dead. I'm not going to have to worry about the Browns parading around with the Super Bowl. I'll be dead. If the Browns hadn't have gone after Deshaun Watson, do you realize what they would be doing? They would have kept Baker Mayfield, who promptly would have gotten injured like he did with the Panthers because he would have been running for his life here or there or everywhere. He's short, he's slow, and now he's injury prone. And you would have been just as bad with Baker Mayfield as you are with Jacoby Brissett. He would have turned the ball over, he would have fumbled the ball, he would have gotten hurt, and then you would have been stuck playing with God only knows who. And you win just enough games so that you were never in a situation, we lost all those draft picks to get Watson. Well, what draft picks were you going to get finishing 6-11? Their teams will tank to get the best quarterbacks, and you wouldn't have been one of them, Browns fans. You wouldn't have been one of them. So the one thing they did that was aggressive to try to bring a real talent to town, you let various prejudices get in your way, because that's not what fans do. A fan, you're supposed to cheer on the athlete. You're not supposed to review him and judge him in a courtroom. My goodness. At any rate, I'll tell you another thing. I'm got my dander up big time. I used to be a boxing fan. I used to be. And then when they divided the belts up into so many different belts, you couldn't keep track of how many champions there were. And the graft became so great and the fixes became more prolific. I kind of backed off the sport. And I never was a UFC guy. The idea of somebody just hammering somebody's teeth out in an octagon didn't do it for me. Now I have to put up with Cleveland's own Jake Paul, little faggoty ass white boy.
From Westlake.
What a worthless piece of shit. You want to be a boxer, fight real people.
Yeah.
And this, and you know, I'm stunned. I actually watched a couple of these Jake Paul and his brother Logan's, you know, pay-per-view things.
Yeah, now Logan Paul is going to be wrestling some WWE show in Saudi Arabia.
Yeah.
In Saudi
It's
Arabia.
just as fake as Jake's fights are. Give me a break. Who is he fighting? He's fighting people off the street, basically. And is now they're pimping this fight with Silva. You know, Anderson Silva's 47 years old. And acknowledged prior to the fight, getting ready for the fight and training, was knocked out twice by his sparring partners. I'm not making this up.
No.
And they just let him fight anyway. They're going to let Anderson Silva in there to die.
Yeah.
Just so Jake Paul will win. And again, if you're paying for this, there's something really terribly wrong with you. But to me, athletics are real, and there's a cohesion and a flow and a beauty to watching 5 men in a basketball court playing seamlessly, or whether it's 11 men on a football field playing seamlessly. I'm going to bring John in here. Hello, John from the Meadows.
Playing seamlessly.
No, you're echoing.
Hello, John from the Meadows. Am I echoing?
Yeah. You got feedback. I think you probably have a video of this program on YouTube up on your computer, and you've got to close that.
Aldi Studio. Of this program on YouTube.
Okay, I can just, well, I was going to mute his mic, but whatever.
Yep.
It's tough down here in Florida. Sometimes it's a little tough to, you know, you're dealing with people who are not necessarily computer, you know, used to doing stuff like this. And all you have to do is shut down the instance of YouTube. So at any rate, so when you see that Jake Paul has knocked out Anderson Silva, and Anderson Silva was not a boxer to begin with, he was, you know, a UFC guy, and he was a damn good one in his day, but that he's long gone at 47 years of age, and acknowledging that he's been knocked out twice in training, he's all softened up and ready for another concussion. That's really great news, and that's more big stuff for the city of Cleveland to be grateful to be bringing in, and you're paying for it. Way to go. Then there's this. If you want to know how the Browns and the Bengals are going to do, just look at the fourth quarters of games. I don't have to tell you that the Browns are going to lose. It doesn't matter what the score is, because the fourth quarter, the Bengals have given up 30 points. The Browns have given up 101 points, okay? And we look at, you know, Zach Taylor, we look at the whole organization of Cincinnati and say, God, they're not that good. But to be honest with you, they're obviously doing something right, that at least when the game matters, it is on the line, they play. It's more than I can say for the Browns. If you're getting the feeling that I feel the Browns have no chance, it's because the Browns have no chance. Cincinnati fans are lining up and their mouths are watering. This is an instant 5-3 football team now. And the Browns have nothing. They're injured. And even if they were healthy, they don't get the most out of the healthy players. So, you know, but that one thing, and, you know, we won't touch Joe Woods. 101 points in the fourth quarter. That's really amazing. Let's go back to John here. Are you with me, John?
Better?
Yeah, it is better, by gosh and golly.
I don't know what I did.
Oh, wait, no, it's still actually echoing.
It's in the background somewhere.
I don't know what I did.
See, we hear the talking through the delay. Do you have a YouTube?
See,
Probably when you clicked it on to get on the StreamYard,
Is
it's
that
always the
me?
one in the background.
the YouTube
Yeah, so you got to just turn that off. Whatever it is that you're seeing, if you're seeing yourself on the screen, you just turn that off, and you're right here in the studio. And then now there's no. Oh, he's just muting his mic. Whatever. So at any rate, the game isn't going to be close, and they're just going to be Fat City, and there's nothing else to say. All this, we got to give the ball to Chubb more often. We got to do this. No, it doesn't matter. The preparation isn't there, and the desire isn't there, and my desire isn't there. Here comes Broncola. Bronk. Ain't divorce a bitch.
Well, I was just about this John situation. I think all he doesn't have a headset on. His speakers are probably playing the program back. He probably only has the StreamYard going, but he doesn't. He needs to wear a headset. For God's sake. Mark, for God's sake.
God's sake, Mark.
Mark Sanger.
Mark,
get me my dinner. Mark, mop up the floor. Mark,
take me to the toilet.
On time.
You know who we need to hear from today?
Who do we need to hear from?
Tommy Heinsohn, because it's the big game tonight.
That's true. That's true. We're going into Boston.
The only game I want to talk about.
All right, so but let's do Tommy, because he's dead.
He's very dead.
Very dead.
I just want to say this. That's a nice echo. I'm looking at this game, this young bunch of Cleveland Cavaliers players, and look at them. Donovan Mitchell, Darius Garland, who's not going to play, but he'll be on the bench. He's there. He's right here. He's here in Boston. And then you got Jared Allen. The only one worth a damn is Jetty Osman, and he's not even American. Need I say more? In my day,
Bailey Howell
and Joel Havlicek. John Havlicek, too, his brother. Everybody that you remember. And Bill Russell, what a crybaby. Bill Russell, he tried to take over the team from me, and look what happened. I'm looking at this game as a piece of cake. This is going to be the Celtics, and the Celtics are going to win by 27 points. Hoo-ah! All right. Tommy Heinsohn, his racist, sorry Irish Catholic ass, somewhere burning in hell.
No mention of Bob Cousy.
Oh, yeah, okay, he'll do that.
Terry Lucas.
You want to talk about somebody who can handle the ball?
That's just
Bob Cousy. There's a guy right there. He's behind the back, between the legs. He could do more with his balls than the hedgehog in the porn movies. Wow.
Young.
I know.
Have we reached the reach around section of the program? Already?
Yeah, we're about there. It's and this really got me. Like the Kings, it really got you. Yep. The headline: Panthers Baker Mayfield rolling with the punches as quarterback 2. He's going to be quarterback 3. It's just a matter of a week or two. You got to get used to it. Yeah, that's the deal.
He gets
For
knocked
an
down.
XFL champion.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, this has been like Joe Charbonneau-esque, the arc of this man's career.
That's a good. Yeah, Joe Charbonneau.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
That Carolina Atlanta game is for sole fucking ownership of first place in the NFC South.
Yeah, crazy, isn't it?
It's so bad.
Yeah. So is anybody going to get up at 9:30 in the morning and watch with Bronx? Watch the
I'm not going to
Jaguars versus Mr. Unlimited. Fucking Russell Wilson.
I ain't gonna
Can't
watch
wait.
that.
Did you hear about what Russell was doing on the plane?
Oh God.
Oh yeah. He was like doing knee jerks against the seat in front of him or something.
Who was?
Russell Wilson.
Yeah.
Oh,
He was on the plane doing knee ups in the aisles while everyone was sleeping for 4 hours, and then the other 3 hours he was reviewing game film.
Father Time always wins, as far as I'm concerned. I don't know.
That's dementia. That's not father.
Yeah. No. Here's something even better. The Baker Mayfield quote that I will always carry with me in my heart. It's like he has a script, you know? I came here to win. If it's my role to help PJ Walker out from the sideline and help this defense out with the scout team, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it with everything I've got.
You know who wrote that? Crash Davis from Bull Durham. That's the guy who wrote that.
No, Super Dave Osborne.
Yeah.
I can't tell you for sure if I'm going to live or die, but I'm going to do my best. You know, it's like
that sounds like me.
It's like this was the speech you gave when you came to Cleveland. Now you're the third string quarterback on the Panthers.
Wow.
Yeah.
YouTube user, I think, is John.
It's just denial. Just denial. You know. And he also added he doesn't want to be traded before Tuesday's NFL deadline. You have no choice. I mean, first of all, who is...
Who want Baker Mayfield?
Who would want him? That's the first question. And the second question is, I mean...
you
don't have any control over whether you get traded or not, dude.
You know what would be a hilarious location for him to get traded to would be the 49ers. He could sit behind Jimmy Garoppolo.
Well, I mean, wherever he's going, it's not going to be a team looking to go into the upper echelons of the playoffs. And that's the problem. Once you become Jacoby Brissett, you end up with who you end up with, and you get a paycheck and you're in the league. And that's as good as it gets for you. God almighty. I mean,
Maybe Pittsburgh would want him.
Now get this. He's comparing Cleveland and the Panthers. This is a very different scenario, said Mayfield. The Browns were 1-31 before I got there. That's very different. I'm not going to get into that. It's not even comparable situations. Well, incompetence is incompetence, and I don't remember seeing the Panthers anywhere near the top recently. And they're the ones who decided to bring you in without an offensive line. Just saying. That's what Topaz says now. Just saying. No. See, there's many different. There's the abrupt no. Then there's the I thought about it for 1 second. No. Right, exactly. Oh my God, it's just so. And meanwhile, the Chiefs get Kadarius Toney, who's been nothing but a walking mash unit since he's missed 12 out of 24 games that he has played in.
Yeah, John needs to wear a headset, not listen.
Yeah, somebody write to him in the chat room that he's got to wear a headset, because if he doesn't, he's going to get that speaker coming right back at him, the big boomerang. So I don't know. And then here's what the Browns have to say about all this. What can ClevelandBrowns.com come up with?
Anybody care?
Deion Jones ready to embrace bigger role after Brown's debut. That's because the other guys in front of him are injured, and they're
dead. They're all dead. They're like Jerry Lee Lewis. Everybody's dead. We don't have a live linebacker.
Yeah. So it's that's the hopeful light coming from ClevelandBrowns.com. Do make it stop, dear God.
What do they say about the Bengals, though? ClevelandBrowns.com, your source for Bengals news and
Steelers news. Talking about covering your bets. I mean, my goodness.
They're going to start covering the Detroit Lions, you know.
The ultimate hedge, you know. I mean, and yeah, it's a Browns town. Cleveland's a Browns town. Yeah, you go to cleveland.com to get your Browns news. Cancel their candy ass, whatever paywall.
You know what? It'd be like a Milwaukee newspaper covering the Bears and the Vikings. That's what it would be like.
Yeah, it's
oh, everybody's dead.
And John is just saying this, and he also goes by the name YouTube user. Pretend that Watson played from day one. Are there any games we would won because of him? And the answer would be yes, but
several probably.
But if the receivers were running the wrong direction, he would be having problems as well. So, and you're not gonna. Again, did I see the latest on the Watson lawsuit? It's unfortunate. It's unfortunate. There are people who are out for money and would do anything for it. I think Watson has received abuse far beyond what anyone should have received for his circumstance. I don't mind him being suspended, but for the fans to turn on him before he picked up a football and threw one pass or handed one ball off, tells me that if this is a Browns town, I'd hate to be anywhere else, because God only knows what you would do to players from other teams. You'd probably throw batteries at them. That's, the fact of the matter is that 24 women, one's holding out, and 23 settled. Not a single thing was proven. Nothing. They just wanted it to go away. They paid the money. That's what they wanted. So another person comes up and basically just tells a story when they have texts on her chasing after Deshaun Watson, saying that she wanted to be in love with him and all this nonsense.
No.
And I protect the innocent. I don't protect people just because they try to glom on to some kind of a cause. And I wasn't at all surprised. I think that if you really had gone to the nitty gritty, that the vast, vast, vast majority of the 23 that were settled would turn out to be all bullshit. And I think by and large, all of them to some degree was full of shit, because they're not licensed massage therapists and they're advertising themselves as massage therapists on Instagram of all places. You're never going to change my mind about it. I do think that the young man has a problem. I think he needs to understand where his responsibilities lie when he works for an organization, that he can't behave that way. I think it's totally unacceptable. I have no problem with the suspension. But what really bothers the hell out of me is the way the fans turned. And it's just like the way everything is right now. It's just all, and I'm not going to use the expression black and white in that reference, but I will say that everything's polarized and you can't be in the middle of anything.
So
you
how
take
about
one
that,
side, you take another.
How about that game against the Orlando Magic? What do you think of that? Because it wasn't a good game for Donovan Mitchell.
No, not at all.
Particularly compared to the other three games. And Orlando seemed to have a lot of talent, but
especially that rookie.
Yeah, that Banchero guy, he's going to be a big star, but he's got to learn not to hog the ball for
he has to.
Minutes of the game.
Well, Banchero, what is he going to do? He's out on the floor with a bunch of guys.
Give it to the Wagner guy, the Nazi guy. You give the ball to him. Yeah,
he was hurting us early. But they were letting him drive to the basket unassaulted, and I don't understand why that was the case. They got that cleaned up in the second half.
Yeah, I mean, the Cavaliers missed so many shots, layups, and everything in the paint, like in the first half. I was like shocking. I mean, we were like shooting them in from threes and then missing in the paint. It was like bizarre.
Well, I think you come out and I know that Bickerstaff warned them. You got to play for 48 minutes. You got to play hard, and this team is young, and they're going to keep coming at you. And they're not going to go away. And I'm not sure.
They never did.
Yeah, I don't think they took it real seriously. And I think they found themselves in a scuffle. And they did win. I think that Donovan Mitchell has played a lot of minutes. Yeah, and I think that he's still, only 4 games into his tenure with the team. It doesn't really know everything that he needs to know about the offensive scheme. He hasn't really had any chance to play with Darius Garland, which is really going to be interesting when the two of them are on the floor at the same time. How they're, right now it is all Donovan Mitchell centric as far as having the ball in his hands. But what I would say, and what bothered me about the last game is they weren't in the first half even looking at Evan Mobley, not even looking at it.
That's right.
And I was kind of like, here's a guy you've been talking about and pimping, and I'm not seeing it. He's really not a back down player, and he didn't gain any strength that I can see. His hands, when you try to pass the ball to him in traffic, he doesn't have strong hands. He can be stripped of the ball. And they're not giving him the basketball in the part of the floor where he can do the most damage. And I was really kind of getting a little bit like agitated, saying, come on, we got a guy who's 6'11" here. And, and he should be able to tower over people and just get the shot that he wants down low. The second half they did, and he scored 15 points in the half.
Yeah.
And, that made a big difference. But again, the Cavaliers aren't used to playing together, and tonight could be ugly. And the team, I'll say for the team, they're going into this game with the right attitude. What they're saying is, we have respect for the Celtics. They went to the finals last year. They were someplace that we want to eventually go, and we can learn and we can play hard. And we can do everything we can do to learn from a really good team. And that's the right attitude to go in with. And you see how long you can hang with them. And if you can get things going, we're still a 3 short. And, and we're playing without really our floor leader and still winning games.
Correct. I mean, our second unit with I would include like Neto and some of these other guys seems to be winning against the other team's second units.
Well, that's the other thing. I mean, you look at a team like Orlando, and if they have a couple guys like Wagner and Banchero, it gets thin when they go to the bench.
Yeah.
We used to see it with the Cavaliers all the time. Whenever the bench would have to come in, boy, the drop off was, really extreme. But the word on Garland is that he was doing individual on-court workouts. The swelling in his eye is diminishing. They're really hoping that if the swelling continues to diminish, they fitted him for a pair of glasses and that he's going to wear on the court, and they're hoping Sunday. That's what they're hoping. It may be one more game, depending on what nature does as far as the swelling is concerned. But that's something to look forward to. The other thing I'm really surprised about is, JB is notorious for running 10 men deep. And that was what he stated was his goal going into the season. And he's running mainly 9 men, 8-9 men predominantly. Yeah. And I'm a little bit surprised that Stevens isn't getting any burn, because I know the tendency is to go with the guy you drafted, and that's Okoro. But Okoro is a very different kind of player. He may be giving you some defensive effort, but man, he can't shoot.
I don't think he played much the other night, did he? I don't seem to recall him playing all that much against the Magic, but he might have done.
I mean, to me...
If he did, he didn't make any impact whatsoever.
Stevens is more of a physical guy. And I guess the reason I wondered is we've been getting out rebounded down low. I mean, we've been giving up way too many offensive rebounds. And the one thing about Stevens is that he's got a bigger upper body and not going to get pushed around. And he will foul out of games. He's a, contact kind of player. But, there have been way too many second and third opportunities that we've been given teams instead of rebounding. So, and that's another concern, because if you take a look at the rebounding, Jared Allen is doing what he's supposed to do, and Kevin Love off the bench is doing what he's supposed to do. But Mobley is only getting like 6 rebounds in a game. And we have to figure out how to use Evan Mobley, because he's not a ball handler. And my only concern is that they've been telling this kid, you're a unicorn, you're a unicorn, you're a unicorn. And I'm sorry, I don't see Giannis in this guy. I don't see that he's built up his body strength. I think that is his build. I think there has to be a better way of using him, and the team's going to have to figure that out, but it ain't going to be handling the ball out front. That's for goddamn sure. They just have to figure out how to make the pieces work together. But 3-1 going into Boston and the game we lost was against a quality playoff team, and it was
in their place away.
Yep,
away
knock down, drag out, and they had to watch our guy get carried off the floor. So, I think that's all. Everything's good as far as that's concerned.
Well, other than Jason Tatum, who's the other guy?
Brown. Jaylen Brown. And, those two guys are combining for mammoth points.
Yeah.
And, and this is the kind of game where you wonder if Okoro's going to get more time.
Well, who's going to guard those guys, man? Who's defending them?
Well, it's like,
that's
I
the
would
concern.
want to, I mean, that's why you use bodies. That's why I'm telling you that Stevens should be getting some burn, only because he's a body and he's upper body strength, and he can make somebody work harder. And because both of those players, Tatum and Brown, have the ability to take the ball to the rack. And you're not talking about Bradley Beal kind of guys. You're talking about guys who can hurt you outside and inside.
Yeah, bigger guys. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I wouldn't be surprised if Stevens gets a little burn off the bench just to keep a fresh body. You're going in, the chance that you have to win is if you can hold one of those two players down to a quiet number, you could be in this game. And so if you have to rotate a few guys in and out, you do what you have to do to keep a fresh body on those guys. So that's what
Do you think we're going to see, because in my opinion, I don't know, but do you think we're going to see a lot of Dean Wade and Robin Lopez? Because I think they might not get a lot of minutes.
Well, I mean, there's two things. Dean Wade can shoot the corner three. He's not going to be the big time athletic guy, and he is a spot up guy who's waiting for the ball to come his way when people are doubled. And who else were you asking about? Was Robin Lopez?
Yeah.
I mean, Robin Lopez is a guy who's very slow footed, and in a half court game, he can, like he did against his ex team, he went out there and kind of was able to muscle that little hook shot up. But if there's people going up and down the court, he's going to lag behind. So, that's, and it's interesting, Michael, 11-29 of the literally the quietest, with the exception of one transition layup.
So
That's all.
One quarter of work, and I didn't. You couldn't remember him. I couldn't remember him.
And I can tell you this, that he yanked a corner three that was bad from the second it left his hands. And this is what we've been seeing from Okoro for a couple of years now. So
it's so sad because we heard in the offseason that he reworked his shot, but it's still the same result.
Well, I think the speed of the game makes him change, and we'll give John one more shot here. John?
Is it working now?
No.
Yeah, we can still hear ourselves, a half second later. It's because your speakers are feeding back into the microphone.
Do you have like a YouTube tab open?
If you don't have a YouTube tab open, it's your speakers feeding into the microphone.
All right, so we'll have to figure it out because I got to finish up this program here because I got an NBA game coming on here.
When is
come back, John. Don't give up on us, baby. God knows we've come this far. We like to have as many people in the panel as we can get. We have time to talk about the Browns on Monday for the Monday show. It's the reason why I'm not worrying about.
Make a very, very quick point for anybody watching this, like Big Lurker UK. Anybody, we're putting our clocks back. You guys are not in America, so Moohead Radio and all the sports starting on Sunday will be an hour earlier, which is great news for us. For a week. So I'll be getting an hour's extra sleep Saturday night.
Well, that's nice. And, it's kind of nice to have a weekend without having my Sunday cluttered up with.
It's great. The Cats game's like at a normal time of the day. It's like a day game, isn't it, on Sunday?
I'm not sure. I haven't even looked that far ahead. No, I'm looking forward to tonight's game, though, with, just to see what the, and, but other than that, I'd say that I want to say one more thing about the city of Cleveland. Having grown up in Northeast Ohio, you can support whoever you want to support, but just don't believe that those people are really supporting you. Don't fool yourself into thinking that.
Wow.
Because they could be gone in a cloud of dust, just like Art Modell did. Somebody gives them a better offer or whatever. They could do what the Davis family has done in the greater Los Angeles, Oakland area over and over again. It's and cities are left, when Seattle was left behind, the Supersonics, and went to Oklahoma. I mean, this shit happens when the Colts leave Baltimore and go to Indianapolis. There is no loyalty. They don't care where their money comes from. And if you're dumb enough to keep giving it to them, then fine. But don't be saying that there's some kind of great payback, because there really is. It's only the satisfaction you have in watching. And if garbage is what you like watching and a shit product, then that's up to you. But there are other people like myself who would rather see some progress being made and would rather give airtime to those who are doing things right than to be bitching and pissing and moaning about somebody who's doing it all wrong.
Yeah, that's why I wanted to talk about the Cavs today, because I'm now on the Cavs bandwagon. Woohoo!
Well, the NBA is a team. The acquisition of Donovan Mitchell is huge because
absolutely
you need to have, and it's why I don't have a problem with Deshaun Watson coming to the Browns. You got to have star players to have appeal on a national scope, and that's what gets you more fans from out of market. It's what also gives your team more visibility, and I think that's real simple stuff. What were you going to say, Double P?
I'll say before you go, do you want to hear a joke?
Sure.
LeBron James said he is no longer a fan of the Cowboys because he can no longer morally support the team after the ownership prevented the players from kneeling during the national anthem. Now just thinking to myself, now you're going to not be a fan of them, even though Jerry Jones has been an owner for the entirety of your fandom?
Here's the best part of the LeBron James story, and I'll end with this. It's like LeBron waving out the olive branch saying, hey, I can come back to Cleveland, but Bronny's coming with me. And no. I don't care who's the
And we have
fan
the
of who.
Lakers coming up too.
Oh,
Yeah.
and I also want to say Herschel Walker is some kind of crazy motherfucker, but nothing compared to Kanye. Holy fucking Lord. What in the world?
Oh, let's end on something else other than these. Let's do Dickie V previewing tonight's Cavs Celtics game, and some other way, even bring back little Timmy,
And not Kanye.
not Kanye, not LeBron,
Yeah. Well, I'm not
not
doing
Herschel
any of
Walker, definitely.
it.
No.
What's worse, the fact that he impregnates women at will or that he's in the early stages of dementia? What is worse? I have no idea.
Wow.
And you know what's amazing? Mike Ditka.
Boom.
He,
Mr. Bear.
he traded his whole draft for that guy.
He did.
Just like the Broncos did for Russell Wilson.
Yeah, unreal. Just unreal. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in to this edition of Moohead Radio. We'll be around on Monday at the usual time at 6 o'clock, and I'll be partially on social media as the Browns play the Bengals. And then
You could do a post-game Cavs on Sunday.
I could, but I won't.
You could just suddenly show up.
No. All right, everybody. Thanks a lot. Thanks, Double P. Thanks, John. John, you're
the luckiest man on the face of the earth.
And Double P and Bronk, thanks for hanging out with me, and we'll be back again on Monday.
Thank
Until
you, Tony
then.
the Calf, who's big.
Oh,
girth.
thank you, Tony. I forgot about
Yeah,
Tony.
You can't forget Tony the Calf. His girth was muzzling his microphone. That's why we could hardly hear him.
God bless the calf. All right, everybody. Thanks, and I'll see you on Monday. Until then, hasta la vista, Pastor Heads. Good night.
No.